Hello, welcome back to another episode of Cozypreneur. This week we are talking about retainer offers. So I'm specifically going to be breaking down what's inside mine, why I created it, and how it keeps my business and my brain running smoothly, even when it doesn't feel like running smoothly. If you are somebody who is either interested in working with me on a retainer or you want to bring retainers to your business, then this is the episode for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Cozypreneur podcast. If this is your first time listening, Cozypreneur is all about helping you make money and work with the dreamiest of clients. So grab your beverage, get your cozy socks on, and let's dive in. Okay, so I shifted to retainer offers sometime in the second year of my business. And the reason was I was mostly selling my signature offer, Launch Renaissance, and that was really successful, but it was exhausting because the project ran about 2 months. And so every 2 months I was trying to fill a new spot. And so I was constantly in launch mode just to get new clients, just to find my next Launch Renaissance clients. And what I was also realizing as I was going through this big project, because Launch Renaissance was like comprehensive, it was basically brand messaging and launch copy in one, which you can still get. It's just not packaged the same way anymore. But what I realized was once people went through Launch Renaissance, they loved that experience and they didn't want to leave, right? Like they wanted it to stay working with me and thinking about what does it look like going past that. And so that was kind of the transition where I first started to do retainers. And it was really game changing for me in business because it helped me have a steady income and it was way less stressful. So like where Launch Renaissance was bringing in like a high amount of income, but then I had to keep finding new people, the retainers was more steady, right? So for the next 6 months, I know that I have this minimum income coming in, and then everything else after that is extra. So that was kind of like my shift to why I moved towards retainers. It became way less stressful to not have to keep consistently finding clients and to know that like, hey, my clients actually stick around for a while. So really like, it's really more about nurturing them and giving them what they need over time and not necessarily about finding new clients all of the time. You know, I talked about this on the episode where I talk about my Q1 reflections, but what I actually did this year in year 3 is shift my retainers to be more hourly based versus package based. So I do have some clients where I do package based retainers. So every single month, they get a set of weekly emails that they can send out to their list. For me, somebody with like huge time blindness, I have a hard time knowing how long things take me. So if it's something like a website project, sure, I know how long that takes now because I've done it so many times that I can set a package price for that. But if somebody is asking me for something that I don't necessarily do super often, or they're asking me to kind of like look at an old nurture sequence and update it to reflect the new branding, like I don't know how long that's going to take me until I'm actually in there because I don't know what the state of this email sequence is before you ask me to go in there. And so sometimes it can be like, hey, it's just a few tweaks. And sometimes I'm like, this needs to go and I'm going to completely rewrite this. And so in those situations, hourly works a lot better for me. And it also helps me structure my schedule. So I know I talked about this in the last episode, but say I have 3 10-hour clients, like I know that in this month, I need to find space in my schedule to get those 30 hours in or to get those 50 hours in, whatever it is. And it's funny because I actually created a LinkedIn post about this and I asked people, what do you do for your packages? And most people were like, hey, you know, I do a mix too of packages and hourly. And then there were some people that were like, wait, but if you don't want to do hourly, like you can do XYZ. And they're like, you can create like a menu of deliverables and have people like check in. And I'm like, no, that seems chaotic and confusing. And like the whole point of me going hourly is that it's easier for me. And I know people talk about like, oh, you don't want to track your time, but like actually it makes my life a lot easier because I have all of my projects inside ClickUp. And so for my monthly retainers that are hourly based, every month I just go into their task and start the timer. And once it gets close to 10 hours, then I know like, right, it's a new month now. And so just making sure that like all of those clients that are 10 hours or 20 hours that I'm just chugging away like a few hours a week, it makes it so much easier for me. And it also helps me kind of get rid of that like, oh crap, like I have this due at the end of the month. Like I have to like get everything done right now. Because that time blindness, it sneaks up on you. You don't know, but it does. So, what it looks like on my end is you have two options, either 10 hour or 20 hours a month, and it includes strategy calls as needed. So I generally send an email to my clients every month saying, hey, this is what we accomplished last month based on, the goals that we talked about. Here's the priorities for next month, and you can book your monthly call here. I find that most people don't really need a call as often as a monthly. Most of my clients kind of fit in like in the 90-day mark or like a 45-day mark, whatever it is. It kind of depends like what are they working on. Somebody who's going to be in a live launch, somebody who needs a lot of things, somebody who needs help prioritizing, they're going to need more calls more often versus somebody who's kind of like, I say phase 1 and phase 2. Like phase 1 is like rebranding, getting all of your email sequences up, getting your website copy done, right? Building your brand is phase 1, and phase 2 is going to be more putting out content, building that visibility, nurturing your people. And so people who are in phase 1, they might need more meetings than people who are in phase 2. So it really depends like what's going on in your business, but I do have that available. But if you are not a big call person, I'm also in GChat all day, every day for my clients. No, I have boundaries. I do generally check in once or twice a day, but I think the biggest thing with this retainer is, instead of making a menu of deliverables, it's going to depend on what you need. So for example, I have a client who ended up doing a lot of in-person things, and they went to a conference and they wanted brochures and they wanted all of this stuff. And so I actually created all of these print materials. And while I'm usually like an email marketing person or a website copy person, once you know copy, you can kind of apply it anywhere. And so it was really fun for me to do something different and to see my copy printed out. Like that was really cool. I actually like have the brochure hanging up because it's like, oh my God, my first brochure. But so that's one of the things I also like about this retainer is like kind of like it keeps it interesting. Sometimes like when I'm writing like the same 4 emails for somebody, after like 6, 7, 8, 9 months, I'm like, oh my gosh, these emails are getting so boring. Because really, you're just repeating yourself in your marketing. You say the same things over and over and over again. And so when I'm doing that for clients, obviously I'm going to because it's my job, but sometimes it gets like mind-numbingly boring. And so I do like that about this hourly retainer is it gives me some more flexibility to do different types of projects versus doing the same thing over and over and over again. In terms of boundary setting, I track my time in ClickUp. I know I mentioned that earlier. I communicate with my clients consistently, at least weekly, to let them know, hey, this is what I've been working on. Here's where I need your input. Here's what questions I have for you. What do you need from me? Just like a quick check-in. And just because I offer GChat doesn't mean I'm going to be there all of the time, right? Like it's not 24/7 access to me. It's a partnership, and there's a lot of trust happening between my clients and I. So they know what they're getting, but they also know that I'm going to be putting those hours in to help them accomplish their goals. And they understand that. And they also understand that like, hey, sometimes I have clients say like, hey, when am I expecting this? And I'm like, hey, I have time blocked off on this specific day. You should be hearing from me at that time. But, I also really like to be like, I try to stay on top of the communication because that just, people are hiring me to get things off of their plate. And so I don't want them to come chasing me. Like I want to be taking initiative, being prepared for them so that they're like, wow, this is such a good value. And like, I love working with Stacy. So just a note on like client experience. And I think like another thing that I really enjoy about this retainer model is that, you know, it does allow flexibility. Like some clients just need somebody to get shit done. They have the strategy in their head. They they know exactly what they want, and they're like, "Hey Stacy, can you just like get this stuff done?" Other people are like, "Hey, I need guidance on what to do. Like, what do I even post on LinkedIn?" Right? And so sometimes I'm mapping out messaging, sometimes I'm mapping out campaigns, and sometimes I'm just crossing things off of people's to-do lists to help make their life easier. And a lot of the times it's a mix, right? So I'm thinking specifically of one client who they really want to be on LinkedIn, but their profiles weren't set up. Their staff profiles weren't set up. And so I actually like went in and rewrote their LinkedIn profile, their staff's LinkedIn profile. And behind the scenes of all of that, we're doing a whole brand refresh. And so while like my client asked me to do some of the tasks, which were like the LinkedIn profiles and creating a LinkedIn strategy for them, there was a bunch of other things that I was also working on in the background when it came to messaging and it came to, hey, here's your actual LinkedIn strategy and here's the things that you're going to talk about on sales calls. And so it's just really cool how much flexibility this retainer offers, but it does also require a lot of trust on between me and my clients, because one, I'm going to know exactly what's going on in your business to be working this closely together. And then two, just being able to feel good about handing off all of that stuff. Like your messaging is a huge part of your business. It's how you make money. It's how you bring people in. And so you really do need to have somebody trustworthy, like taking care of that, because it's really scary. Like your website is your storefront. If somebody messes that up, like it's going to look bad. It's going to look bad in terms of like my ideal client for this. And so like if you are also doing a retainer and you want to think about who's your ideal client for this, I have worked in retainer capacity with a lot of different people, and then also in project capacity with a lot more people. And so thinking about like who's actually a good fit for this, somebody who wants marketing off their hands, right? Like they don't want to write emails, they don't want to write another sales page, but they still want to be in the process, right? They still want to know what's going on. They still want to be able to give their input. They're not like, hey, take this off my plate completely, but they want somebody that they can trust to make the good choices and to actually execute. And so this isn't really for people who need hand-holding on every detail or want to direct every move. It's really like a team. It's a partnership. It's like, hey, sure, I will do some of the tasks on your list, but also let's zoom out. Let's think about your customer journey. Let's think about the big picture. And then sometimes, clients will be like, well, hey, like, what about this? And I'm like, hey, why don't we do this in November? Or why don't we do this then? And really bringing like that long-term planning to the table too. One of my teacher skills is looking at a whole entire school year, being able to plan out what you're going to do for the next 10 months. So I think, bringing that to the table for clients as well, because sometimes it's hard to like plan out 10 months in advance when really you're just trying to get content out this week, right? So you're not thinking about like, hey, what's actually my Black Friday deal going to be? And if you're my client, you probably already know what you're going to be selling for Black Friday. And now we're just working backwards. It's funny because I've been talking a lot about this switching to hourly retainers, and I'm not exclusively switching to hourly retainers. I'll still do package pricing depending on what my clients need. Like that's a big part of my business, is like adapting my services to the needs of my clients. But this whole thing started because I got on a sales call with somebody who wanted blogging, and I was like, great, I can write blogs for you. That's an easy deliverable based package. But as we were talking on this sales call, I realized that they were like in the middle of a full rebrand. They wanted to switch their ideal client, and they really were in a place where they just need to make sales. And so, as the consultant in the situation, like blogging isn't a fast turnaround. And I remember saying this on the sales call where I was like, listen, blogging is something that takes a few months, 3 to 6 months for you to see your return. You're going to see more visibility, but that's not going to help you make sales today. And so I ended up being like, let me think about this, how I can best support you, because I was like, it's not really blogging that they need. Like, they actually really need like email marketing. They actually need to rewrite their website copy. Like, there's so much that they need. It's funny because I was thinking like, how am I actually going to support this person? And that's really where I was like, oh, hourly would make so much sense for this person, because yes, blogging is something that I will do for them, but there's a lot of foundational pieces that need to go in first before they get to the blogging. And so that was really when I pitched them the hourly package, because it just made sense. And like, if you're somebody who isn't like, you have to do all of the things, but you're like, how do I even prioritize this? One, you always prioritize sales, bottom of the funnel first, and then work backwards. And so just in that specific situation, because of where they were in business, it didn't make sense to just do a deliverable based package. And so that was really like where this came about. And then as I've been working with this client, I'm like, what? This is so much more fun. I get to like do a variety of things. It feels a lot more interesting. I have more say in what goes on in the business, and like not in like I want all the power, but like, I feel like I'm a trusted authority and expert on the subject matter, and it's cool to be helping people like create their marketing plan. And it's been really fun. And so that's kind of why I am trying to fill up more retainer spots, because every few clients that I get, I learn more about like, what do I love doing and how do I like working with people more. And so that is really where the hourly retainer came about. So if you are listening and you're thinking, wait a second, I need this hourly retainer package, reach out to me, DM me, email me, whatever. Let's talk about if a retainer makes sense for you. All of my sales calls are no pressure, just a conversation about whether or not it's going to be a good fit. And if you are somebody who is wanting to do retainers in your business, or you have hourly packages, or you're curious about hourly packages, I would love to hear from you about what's working, what's not working, why did you create the package that you created? And that is all for now. And thank you so much for listening. Until next. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred listening platform. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe for weekly episodes about how to make money and work with the dreamiest of clients without having to get dressed in the morning. Make sure to check out the show notes down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.